Well, crowdfunding is quite interesting because it allows investors who might not be able to come and invest with the type of scale that you need for this kind of a project to become investors in real estate.
It allows everybody to invest in a real estate project from very small amounts. For up to now, if you wanted to invest in real estate and you had to buy an apartment or a house, you needed hundreds of thousands of euros. Now you can participate in real estate investing with just 500 euros.
Also, let me remind you that we, just to encourage crowdfunding investors, we gave some discounts if any of the investors would like to acquire a flat.
They're called the campaign perks.
The campaign perks.
So, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. George, let's start with you. Maybe provide us with an introduction to the Courtyard by Green Park Residences.
I give you a brief summary of the project. It's a gated residential complex. It's built in a piece of land of about 10,000 square meters residential land. It has a very nice internal garden of more than 2,500 square meters, like 5 plots, let's say, which is, that's where the project got its name from, the Courtyard. And we have 5 buildings built around, on the perimeter of the land. The one is a double building, so some people mention it's 6 buildings or 5 buildings. In my mind, it's 5 buildings.
Cool. We'll delve into that a little bit later as well. Jad, what are the top 1 or 2 things that make the Courtyard project a unique project for Nicosia standards?
Well, a lot of thought has been put into the creation of the concept and then implementing it in real life. There are many features that we can go into details, but the main idea is the concept, I guess. The concept around a new way of living. So a gated community represents in the wording itself. It's gated, so therefore you are accessing a certain sense of privacy, of security, of I mean, your home. You expect your home to have these features for yourself, for your family, etc. And the fact that it's a residential community is also part of the living concept, to have a central courtyard. So it kind of spawned from a central courtyard and buildings built around it with parking underground. So you don't have the cars in your view. You're looking into your own garden, into your own courtyard. So there is this element of privacy, element of security.
Perfect. We will delve into those features in more detail later. Now I'd like both of you to share a little bit about your individual journeys, like briefly, and what is your relationship with real estate in general. Let's start with George.
My first half career, let's say, had nothing to do with real estate. By education, I'm an accountant. I'm a CPA from the United States, and also my bachelor's is in management. And I worked in banking, in auditing, in finance. So these were the major aspects of my risk management, which was at Moody's in banking. The second part of my life is in real estate. I got my estate agency license. And we had set up what happened to become one of the biggest estate agencies in Cyprus, called Fox Real Estate, which I'm the general manager of. And we deal with lots of residential projects and buildings, as you may understand. And another hat, you may say I have, is that I'm a president of the Association of Property Owners in Cyprus. I have been for the past 9 years. I have built for myself and my family 3 residential buildings in the past. A couple of which we still have and we rent it. That's about it.
A very rich career, multidisciplinary career, but
Because of my age.
yeah. Jad, what about you?
Well, I'm multidisciplinary in a sense because I have a BE in engineering and a master's in finance and management. So that's also a mix of different industries. My background started more in advisory and consulting and so on. And then after a few years, when we came to Cyprus, because as you may well know, I come from Lebanon. I'm not a Cypriot myself originally, but I've been living here for the past 8-9 years. And there was an opportunity in the market coming out of the Cyprus crisis of 2013 for investment in Cyprus, and in particular in the real estate industry. And I met George through common friends. We became friends first, partners later, and we created together an investment fund licensed by the CISEC, the Cyprus Securities and Exchange Commission, which is a financial company basically that invests in private equity projects. And we've been operating this fund since 2017, and it itself invests in real estate. So basically it invests in revenue generating assets, which we have acquired and we manage on behalf of investors to provide them with an interesting return. And we also do a lot of activities to improve on these assets so that their value continues to grow over time and so on. On a personal level, I have a couple of other projects, residential projects also in Cyprus, one of which is Larnaca and the other one in Nicosia.
Okay.
And when the idea came together in 2019 to acquire this plot of land, we seized on the opportunity back then. And that's how we kind of expanded, let's say, our footprint in this market together with George and a bunch of other investors.
Was the idea formed after finding the land? Like you found this land, you said, okay, this is perfect, let's start and build on how we can take advantage of this land? Or was it like the project was designed before finding the land and the land came and you said, oh, this is perfect, let's do it?
No, actually, the concept was there from the beginning. It was not a specific concept that was created and then we went out looking for a plot of land. It's more that experience gives you some sort of intuition. So when the opportunity was available at that point in time, we automatically saw it as really the location and the size and given all of its technical specs, this plot of land, to actually implement the concept. And that's how it started coming together at that point in time. So it wasn't us seeking just to find a plot of land for the project. It's also having the flair to spot the right opportunity at the right time.
Okay, so both of you rich experiences, multidisciplinary experiences, and especially experience in the real estate. Both of you have been friends, and both of you have been working together for some time now through the fund as well. So how do your skills complement each other for this project? I mean, George must be more towards the sales and marketing aspect of the project, and maybe Jad towards the financial aspect of the project. Is that right?
Yes. Well, the management of the company, of Green Park Residences is a company, we have a five-member board, okay? And that's the one that manages, obviously, okay? The shareholders give direction to the board once a year when they get together in the annual general meeting or in other extraordinary meetings. So this five-member board appointed Jad and myself as the executive directors. As such, we participate in all decisions, but on a day-to-day basis. Jad deals mostly on the technical aspects of the project, on the technical aspects, on finance, and I deal mostly with, in the beginning, more with the design and what the clients, what the potential buyers need because of my experience in the market.
Of course.
And then with the promotion of the project and sales. So this is how we allocated our time, but obviously all the time we talk together. We are under the same roof. Our offices are almost next to each other. So we work very closely.
Okay, so there is this 5-member board that takes executive decisions for the project for Green Park Residences. Who else is also part of the team that's bringing this project to life? For example, who is the contractor for the project, and how did you choose this specific contractor for this project?
Yes,
George.
Once we got the license and knew exactly what we would build, because you never know with the authorities if they're going to change something along the way. Then we had to go out and get tenders from contractors, and we did. We had several tenders, more than 7, let's say. One of the tenders was Panagiotis Athienidis with a company called K. Athienidis Contractors Limited, who happened to be I know him from the market as being a quality contractor, but Panagiotis is not only a contractor; is mostly a developer rather than a contractor. And this aspect will help us a lot in the process. Meaning, Panagiotis not only understands how to build it, but how to make it better, give a better experience to buyers, improve on some of the aspects of the project. And also, Panagiotis wanted to become also a partner in the project, so he invested money.
Okay.
So it's like a joint venture with Panagiotis Athienidis. And one of the things he can guarantee is the quality of the workmanship. I mean, we expect that the project will be absolutely the best if possible with the quality of the materials we're using and the workmanship.
Okay, so another member of the team, I guess, that's bringing this vision to life is the architect.
Our architect is Dimitris Krendos. He studied in the UK and worked in London in architecture offices for many, many years, more than 10 years. And he has vast experience that comes from the English style architecture and discipline, because you understand it's a different architecture school. The design, however, was not just Dimitris' idea.
Yeah.
All of us came together, all the shareholders sat down. We tried to, let's say, project what would we like if we had lived in this project. What are the features I wanted to be in this project? So we put them down on a list, and we asked Dimitris to create a project that would satisfy this criteria. And that's how the concept became a reality. And once this project is completed, without a doubt in my mind, not because I'm a part of this team, but it's going to be the best residential complex in Nicosia.
Good note on that. Okay, so these architectural and design philosophies that you must have transmitted to the architect. What are these philosophies that drive the project, the Courtyard project, the architectural and design philosophies?
Well, because of these philosophies, I share George's optimism about the end result. What it's gonna be. It's gonna be really one of the best residential projects that are available out there. The philosophy was built again on the concept. So we had this initial idea, and we wanted to make it come to life. One of the key features is to creating this central garden, but then you have to go look into the details, technical details, obviously, but also, for example, what kind of trees are you going to place in these gardens? And here you kind of go back to the local native trees that you use in your garden, and actually the buildings, the 5-6 buildings that we have, are named after local trees. So it ties into the concept. So every detail of the concept has been thought out so that it all fits together. So it creates one common vision to what this project is going to be, and therefore how it's going to be implemented. So you see, a lot of work has been undertaken to bring this concept to life.
George, how did the Nicosian culture or landscape influence the project's design?
Okay, this is a difficult question because this is a new concept for Cypriots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I want to divert a little bit to answer this question, until a few years ago, the people that asked us to either rent or buy flats in such a complex, in such a residential complex, were mostly non-Cypriots. It was like highly paid employees of foreign companies or people in embassies. Lots of these non-Cypriots that reside in Cyprus, especially in Nicosia, for 2, 3 or more years. Yeah. So this is how we got introduced in in this concept, and we looked at some projects abroad, and most of the features that we came up with, basically we just copy from some nice projects abroad. I mean, we're not going to reinvent the wheel.
Of course, yes.
Of course, lots of Cypriots work abroad now and they repatriate, and they bring with them this idea that we need to live in such a place because they know they have been living in, let's say, in the UK, in the States, etc.
And these kinds of developments are common across the UK or other countries, and you cannot find such projects in Cyprus.
Exactly. Yes. Actually, in Nicosia, I think this is the first project of its size and with underlined facilities and amenities. You see, I mean, you can find some that have some nice aspects about the quality residential living in a nice complex, but you don't have all of this. For example, we don't have any cars on the ground level. So you have a big garden of about 10,000 square meters. The footprint of the buildings is very small. It's less than 2,500 square meters. So out of the 10,000, you understand, we have more than 7,000 free space with benches and running track and barbecue area and nice.
I think this is a good area to to transition to Jad to elaborate a little bit, because I know he has a lot of things to say here. To elaborate a little bit on the standout features of the project, like green spaces that George was talking about, these communal areas. He mentioned also that there are no cars, so there must be underground parking.
Basically, now that we're going into a bit of the details, it will be interesting to note down these things that really differentiate this project from other projects. I would start even from the location, just the location at the entrance of Nicosia, and very accessible to a lot of the amenities and to the central part of Nicosia is one of the main features. Also, let's not forget, it's rare to find big plots of land so that you can create a gated community. By definition, the gated community needs space. Otherwise, I mean, you're not going to make a standalone building and just build a gate around it. This was one of the interesting things about this particular plot in this particular location. Now, as you enter, so you've got like a guard's room at the entrance of the project, and therefore only the residents can come in, and if there are visitors, they have to be announced, delivery guy, etc. So as you enter, you drive down to the underground parking, huge underground parking that can accommodate 2 parking spaces per flat with some extra room as well. And all of the storage facilities, storage areas for the flats are in that underground area as well. And then you have a circulation, obviously, that goes around to all of the buildings. Then you go up to the gardens. So you've got a central garden of 2,500 square meters, but you've got a running track that goes all the way around. We've got a dedicated kind of exercise / relaxation / yoga area. There's a purposefully designed barbecue area where you can entertain your guests, you can have your parties for your kids, etc., and which is located in a part of the garden which does not interfere with the residents, so you don't hear the shouting and the screaming and the happy birthday songs. Plus, the garden itself is designed in a way that there is a private area where you can just sit down, open your laptop, or read your book. It's going to be connected with Wi-Fi. You're going to have an electrical outlet to charge your phone or your laptop. But at the same time, there are other areas within the garden which are built around the community. So basically, we'll have tables and benches. People can congregate, can talk to each other, can really realize that sense of community that we want to create. And we're giving them the facilities to be able to do that. And then you've got throughout the building itself and through the design of the building, lots of the features that are available to the residents and for the future as well. And what I mean by that is that all of the flats, starting from the 2 beds, 3 beds, 4 bedrooms, and 5 bedrooms, what we're calling the 4 and 5, which can be modulated. So basically, when you've got what we call a 5-bedroom, can also be modulated so that you can change a little bit with it. Maybe you can create a family room, an office. So you've got the space. But all of the flats are offered with surfaces that are bigger than what you find usually in the market.
Okay.
Not a lot bigger, but big enough for you to feel a sense of relaxation and space inside your flat. And on top of that, I would add that we have a lot of features that are very important. For example, a well for the watering of the plants, solar and photovoltaics, provision for electrical charging, because this is the future, obviously. So you can charge your car when you're at home.
Yeah, I was coming to that. Any technological integrations or eco-friendly features of the
project is full of them.
Yeah.
It's full of them. It's category A, obviously, in terms of energy efficiency, which is an obligatory thing to have.
Yeah.
But also, in addition to those things that are required by the legislation, we're providing more and more things that will enable us to build really a project for the future. So when you landscape it in a way using plants and trees which will sustain the heat of Nicosia, is for you to not have in a couple of years a dying tree.
Yeah.
And I like to give these specific examples because a lot of thought has been put in them. Another example that I would like to give you is that no two flats have a joining wall. So you don't have a joining wall with your neighbor. All of the mechanical areas are outside of the flat. So if you've got somebody coming to do some repairs, they don't even go into your flat. You've got, for example, the whole concept is built on 2 flats per floor. So you don't have more than one neighbor across from you. From the smallest flat to the biggest one. Actually, the big flats are just 1 floor flat for the bigger apartments. And so on and so forth. The ground floor flats have dedicated gardens for them, for their own use. So people would like to have that benefit, they have it. And it was designed in a way to maximize the use of space, of internal space. So those meters that we're giving to the client are not wasted for just for circulation. And even the whole plot was thought in a way to maximize the use of it and provide all of these features to the residents. So the list is really quite long, and there was a lot of thought that was put in and effort put in to bring it all together within this project.
Yeah, we got that from the RSA, lots and lots of features.
If I may add something to this.
Of course.
Just to strengthen the idea of the concept. I mean, it's a cliche. I mean, you hear it everywhere that Cyprus has more than 300 sunny days in the year. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time outdoors.
Yes.
So these courtyard, these areas outside on the ground floor have been designed for people to want to go there and spend time there. Grab your coffee from your flat and go down. There's several places that you can sit and enjoy your coffee with your friends. Take a walk with your friends or run if you are a runner. Have a yoga class. I mean, or bring a few friends there and have a yoga session.
This helps the courtyard foster a sense of community.
Definitely, this is the sense of community. Have a nice big barbecue area whereby 2 or 3 parties can coexist at the same time without bothering each other. And it's on the edge of the project where it doesn't going to bother any of the residents. So lots of things are going on in this garden, but we opted not to put any noisy activities that will disrupt this tranquility that we want to have in this project.
Yes.
And we said that no cars on the ground floor. That's a big thing. Think of one normal building which is on a plot of about 530 square meter and has cars, all the cars on the ground floor. And think of this, that will be 10,000 square meters with no cars in the ground floor. You have to compare. That's what I said. This is a unique offering, cannot compare with the traditional and buildings that we know.
Okay, so Jad, with all of these features and amenities that we mentioned and the structure of each apartment building and all of this, how do these cater to different age groups or family structures? Who are the ideal candidates to buy an apartment from the courtyard?
Well, the offering is quite wide. So as we said, we have the smaller flats to bigger flats. I would say that young couples could be the primary target area for the smaller flats or couples with the smaller kids, moving all the way to retired maybe couples as well, who would like to have, you know, that sense of, I am living in this residential complex that has all of the features, but I don't need to worry about them and I don't need to upkeep them myself. So it's wide ranging. It's definitely suited for families with younger kids, when you've got spaces for them to run and play and cycle and do whatever activity they would like to do safely, securely, without the risk, not just of cars, of strangers, of whatever you might think. I mean, all of these things are there. And it is definitely built for people who want to have a product that really does not exist in the market. So they want to have spacious indoor living. They want to be able to use those spaces to create, you know, what they would need. Somebody would like to have a home office. You don't need to sacrifice a room to have a home office. You know, these kinds of things. You want to have a family room where you can, you know, play video games with your kid, but not have it in the main reception area where you might be entertaining your guests. So I think in summary, it does kind of lend itself to a wide range of potential buyers, but specifically buyers who understand and would like to have those specific features and live in this kind of a concept of a residential building.
Yes, if I may add, the COVID epidemic taught us that we need to have a home that we can utilize for many reasons. I mean, we spend months on end inside our houses, and I wish we had the courtyard at the time, because that would be the best place to spend, you know, the
lockdown.
The lockdown, yes. Because, as I said, you can go downstairs, plenty of space to do anything you want. And inside you have enough space to do your office, because many people were working from the office. And now, still now, most of the people have 1 or 2 days per week working out of their homes. So you need the space, and you need the amenities to make your life easier.
So let's say I'm one of these interested apartment buyers. When should I expect to move into the apartment?
Okay, construction starting now.
Okay.
Finally, after a longer waiting, especially for licensing. The contracted period with Athene is 30 months, 2.5 years.
Okay.
However, we may expedite this to 2 years.
Okay.
So this is the idea, somewhere between 24 months to 30 months.
Okay. Jad, how was the project financed to date? Who put in the money? Management team, external investors, bank loans?
Yeah.
What happened to date?
What happened
in
today
terms of
is
financing?
that building on the story, we put together a bunch of investors who were all interested in realizing this concept and bringing up to life when we acquired the plot. So George and myself are one of the initial investors, obviously, from that team of initial shareholders. And we did get a financing for the acquiring of the plot itself. The funding up until today, let's say, was mostly used to acquire the plot and then do all of the necessary work to put together the design and get the licenses and have the tenders and so on and so forth. So it was all invested into bringing it to become ready for construction. Now, after that, we did a second round of financing, which was to raise the capital required for the launching of the construction, which is happening now. And therefore, we had 2 phases of fundraising, let's put it this way. And the second phase of fundraising is specifically for the investment in the construction itself. Based on our cash flows, obviously, we know what kind of funding we require. And this will probably be complemented by bank financing, which will be as well for the construction part, so that we can complete the project based on our budget and based on the construction costs and so on and so forth.
Okay. So there's also another investment coming in, hopefully, through a successful crowdfunding campaign. So why have you decided to do a crowdfunding campaign for the remaining portion of the funds that are required for this project? What does crowdfunding bring to the table for you?
Well, crowdfunding is quite interesting because it allows investors who might not be able to come and invest with the type of scale that you need for this kind of a project, to become investors in real estate. I mean, real estate is capital intensive at the end of the day. It requires large sums of money in order to implement projects. So there is a range of investors who can be very much interested in real estate and specifically interested in projects that have unique features that maximize the probability of success and so on. And we wanted to provide this for part of our financing. I mean, not to rely on it more than to kind of offer the opportunity. And I think this will be a very interesting test case for the future. Because I believe that crowdfunding for real estate projects is a very interesting source for both the project owners and for the general public. And it will give a window as well for the project. So basically, much more people will know about it, much more people will know what the product is. It will give us the exposure. So it's kind of a win-win type of scenario, but we're very excited about it. It's something new. It hasn't been tried so far in Cyprus. I mean, it's very successful elsewhere. So it's something very exciting to try, and we are very curious and keen on seeing what the results are going to be.
It allows everybody to invest in a real estate project from very small amounts. For up to now, if you wanted to invest in real estate and you had to buy an apartment or a house, you needed hundreds of thousands of euros. Now you can participate in real estate investing with just 500 euros. So this is a very good opportunity. But one question I get a lot is why didn't the project owners put their money into this, and they are looking for funding from others? So what is your answer to that?
Well, actually, the project owners put the funding that is required. It's all built on a cash flow, right? I mean, without going too much into the details of that, it's all built on a cash flow. Funding for real estate comes from three sources. It comes from the shareholders, it comes from banks, and it comes from sales. And you need to combine all three sources in order to successfully finance a real estate project. And it all happens with different levels. So you have to combine all of these three. So the project owners basically placed the funding that is required up until now and the funding that's required for the construction period. George and myself are also second tier financiers. So we invested in the first round and we invested in the second round. So we're firm believers in the project and we have the total confidence. Now, that being said, having additional financing, so a buffer, is always a good idea. Because you can control how much money you get from the shareholders. You can have the commitment from the banks, but you cannot have a crystal ball that says exactly how many sales you're going to have and when. So it's very interesting and very important to have a buffer at the start of the construction. And that's why now is the time to have that. Maybe if we were asked to do this or we thought about this a year down the line, it wouldn't be needed. But definitely, it's good to have that extra buffer, and it's good to have that opportunity to present it to the smaller scale investors. And it's good to have the opportunity to put this project out there throughout the campaign of crowdfunding, which is going to give additional exposure to the project. So there's a lot of benefits with none of the downsides. And that's why it made perfect sense to do it at this stage.
If I may add,
of course.
About the crowdfunding, let me remind you that crowdfunding funds will come at the end. In other words, all of the other shareholders' funds are coming first, and crowdfunding funds will come at the end. And even if they don't come, we don't really need them. I mean, as I say, it's to be used as a buffer, and we can easily raise it from other sources. It's not it's a small part of the total financing, as you can appreciate. So even it's a small part of the total shareholders' funds. So we think that it's just giving this exposure to a crowdfunding business like Crowdbase is an opportunity for both companies to fill a new sector of the existing market. Also, let me remind you that we, just to encourage crowdfunding investors, we gave some discounts if any of the investors would like to acquire a flat.
They're called the campaign perks.
The campaign perks, which I'm sure they will be in the materials of crowdfunding.
It will be there on the campaign page. So just to briefly summarize those, it's if you invest at a minimum of 50K, 100K, 150, and 200K, you get 1%, 2%, 3%, and 4% discount in buying any apartment in the Courtyard project.
Correct. Which is, given that we more or less have fixed prices, let's say a 4% discount is quite a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. So, Jad, let's look at this kind of from an investment opportunity perspective. What kind of potential returns can investors expect from investing in this project at this time?
Well, the investment returns based on our current forecast is about 70% ROI for the crowd-sourced investors. Now,
and the investment horizon?
The investment horizon will be until completion and sale of the units. So basically, the way it works is obviously you need to sell all of the units to be able to recoup the initial capital and provide the profitability, which, as we said, is between 2 and 2.5 years for the completion of the actual construction, and perhaps another 6-month period for the completion of the sales period. And therefore, we're looking at a 3-year investment horizon. I will emphasize here, and I'm putting maybe my advisory hat a bit on, is that this product is going to be for people who can take the risk of investing in real estate and who can wait for that period of time. So attractive returns do not mean automatically that you jump in the deep end of the pool without knowing how to swim. It will be important for people to assess that properly and to know that there are risks involved no matter what you do, and there is
let's elaborate on those risks a little bit. Any potential market risk or construction risk? What kind of other risks should investors be aware of?
Well, investors should be aware that there's no profitability and there's no reward without any risks. And risks in real estate are coming from different sources. But just to give one example and put it all into perspective, nobody knew in 2019 that there was going to be COVID, that construction site had to shut down, and therefore you had delays, you had overcosts, you had a whole sort of problems between supply and demand. And at the same time, sales were shut down because nobody can go visit a site or visit a construction building or visit offices. So the whole market was completely disrupted for a long period of time. That's one of the examples. Okay, it's an extreme thing and it's a macro problem, but that's one of the example of things that could go wrong. Specific things that could go wrong is delays in the construction itself, maybe not being able to generate the sales according to the forecast, and so it has to be viewed really with a critical eye. And I think there's an elaboration of all of the risks in the documentation, hopefully, that will be put available to potential investors that they need to assess before making an investment. On the other hand, the expected returns are quite attractive, and the time frame is not that long. And it was purposely designed to start in conjunction with the construction, because then you have the assurance that you're investing in something that's going on. Our team took the risk when we bought the plot. We undertook this risk knowing the potential consequences, but we consider that we are taking an educated risk, and we know from our experience what could happen. Today, it's a better conditions for these kinds of investors who are going to come through the crowdfunding to invest in such a project, and this is why also it makes sense for them at this stage.
So, George, the construction is expected to take between 2 and 2.5 years, and as Jad mentioned, it will take approximately, by estimation, about 6 months after the completion of the project to sell all remaining apartments, because you are going to be selling throughout the construction process. Let's talk a little bit about that, about the sales process, and how was the estimation and the model created around when you will sell each apartment and in which quarter, and
First of all, our forecast is such that we sell apartments throughout the construction and past 6 months after the construction. For profitability reasons, doesn't make sense for a project, especially our size. We have 66 flats, to sell everything day one, because then we only get prices for startups. Okay. As you know, throughout the life of a construction, it's known that you can increase prices because people have to wait less time, and therefore they're willing to pay more. So to reach the profitability that we design, which is lower than your average developer, because we go back to the original idea that we wanted to do this project because we like the project. We are not really developers ourselves, but we like to make a very nice project. So going back to the cash flow projections and to the forecast, etc. Yes, we don't want to sell everything from the beginning. We want to sell 4 or 5 flats per quarter, something like this.
And from your experience in this kind of market, you think this is quite achievable? Yes.
Well, let me describe what this kind of market is, because in the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen a lot of unexpected events happening. Today, however, the market is marked by high interest rates, or higher than before, because being my age, when I was buying my first house, I was paying 9% interest rate plus some fees that the banks was customary to charge them. I was paying 10 to 11% per annum. So we're used to high interest rates back then. Now, of course, first-time buyers or mortgage buyers, let's say, they were paying up until 2 years ago about 2%. Now they're paying anything between 3.5% to 4%. So it's not that it's such a high strike, but it's almost double than what was 2 years ago. And this is what makes people uncertain, and buyers, have uncertainty in the market. So the market is marked by these interest rates, the rising interest rates, and also marked by relatively high inflation. We have more in 22, probably less in 23, and that's what caused the interest rate to go up to control this inflation. Now, do we expect these two factors to decrease the demand? Of course, people that would take a loan to buy their property, their residence, would think twice about it. Okay, but remember that you get a loan until you're 65 or 70 years of age. I mean, it's going to be 20 to 30-year loan. Interest rates in this period of 30 years will fluctuate widely. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen in 2 years' time, let alone in 20 years' time. So one should expect that, okay, interest rates, this is what it is. Maybe you can fix them a little bit for a short period of time, but you have to live with fluctuating interest rates. We're part of a global economy, Cyprus is. We're not like before. Okay. Despite these factors, the rising interest rate and inflation, we see that the market still holds strong. I mean, the demand for properties is high, okay? But we do expect a little bit of weakening because of this, because of the more increased difficulty to get a loan. However, our target market is probably people that already have the money. In other words, we expect that a big percentage of our buyers are people that already have lots of money in the banks, and that maybe not only they need a very nice residence in probably the best residential complex in Nicosia, but also to protect their money from inflation. So this is the best time to move your money from where you have them and put them in real estate, which is known to protect assets throughout inflationary periods. So in this environment, we expect that given the unique offering of our complex and given the targeted buyers, that we should not have any problem.
They say that you get what you pay. It's a common saying. So in this sense, what do you get when you pay for an apartment in the Courtyard? What is the value calculation made? Am I paying for an example a mid to high apartment, mid to high end apartment, and I'm getting a luxury quality apartment? How is it working?
Okay. As I said, this project is different. I mean, if we were to compare a classic building, in a small plot with ground floor parkings and a small, Okay, this is not the case. In that case, you only consider the materials, the quality of the construction.
Yeah.
In our case, on top of the quality and luxury materials and designs we're using for the actual buildings, we're also building 7,000 meters of gardens and trees. We're also building an underground parking where each flat will have 2 parking spaces for every flat. So what you are getting when you're buying in this, and I'll give you a small example.
Yeah.
If you buy into a 2-bedroom flat in a normal building, in a classic Cypriot style residential building, the allocation of land to go with it is, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 square meters of land. This is 3 times as much, 4 times as much. So when you have a 2, 3, 4% ratio on ownership of land on your title deed, this percentage is much more. So besides the land you're buying into a complex whereby its value will increase because the surroundings will never change. Everybody's looking at internal garden. The garden will be maintained by us. So for the first 10 years, we're not taking chance for maintenance. We're doing the maintenance ourselves to make sure that everything works properly and that costs of maintenance are kept low. I'm going from one subject to another, but I think it's a good idea to talk a little bit about the cost of common expenses because some people say big gardens, underground parking, high cost. We have calculated the fact that we have photovoltaics for electricity of the common areas. We have a well with and we own the water, no cost for the water, gives us some advantage, so we can afford to have a full-time caretaker from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 in the evening. We can afford to have the security systems that we plan to put around the project or the nice wide spaces we have in the underground parking so that people are not, it's just a single level parking that people can go in very easily with small, let's say, sloping at the entrance and at the exits. So you are getting, much more. I don't want to go to say now that we have underfloor heating and we have all this stuff we have. What you expect to have in a building of this stature, we have it. Okay, but we have much, much more.
So what's next after this project for Green Park Residence? Let's assume everything went well. You got the financing that you need. You already have that. You get the buffer from the crowdfunding. Construction goes well within the time frame that you estimated. Sales go well. What's next?
Well, our vision is to continue providing the market with a product that is differentiated and that meets the future demand or meets the expectation of the clients. It was never, as you might understand from the conversation, was never type of copy-paste type of development and wanting to do a direct competition with a lot of the developers in the market. It was always about creating a concept. We approach it from a different perspective. And our vision is to sustain this into the future. So always bring to the market concepts which are similar, which have all of these features, replicate obviously, because we believe that this is gonna be successful. And if we are proven right, hopefully in the near future, replication will be one of the targets, obviously, to bring new same type of developments into the market. And then to continue with that kind of a vision where it puts it's client-centric, puts what the client would like to have or what has been successful in other countries and offer it to the client rather than, doing same old. I allow myself maybe to say this coming from a different place where you see the evolution in the before and the after and how these concepts, somebody needs to bring them to the market. We're not the only ones, obviously, but I believe that because we approached it from a different perspective, we were able to bring this to the market. And in the coming few months, we will have concrete results that will let us know that we've done a good job, and hopefully we can build on that in the future.
Okay, so the Courtyard is kind of the proof of concept that this team can bring this vision to life and then be able to replicate this in the future.
Yes.
George, maybe a final message for potential investors or residents or partners in this venture about the passion and commitment that went into this project?
Well, we are 4.5 years since the concept was in place and the purchase of the land. And every month that goes by, we're more excited about the future of this project. That is going to be, as I said, one of the best residential complexes to live in. For buyers that have, let's say, the financial ability to buy a flat anywhere in Nicosia, okay, where would it be best to buy? I'm reversing the question now. Where else can you buy a better flat than one in this complex?
Okay. Jad, any final message from your side?
Yes, I mean, it's been a long time coming, as George said. We had circumstances which were, again, with COVID and all of the delays and the timing, because it was a very new concept. The licensing process was quite complicated, and that's why it took so much time to bring to life. But that time gave us the time to reflect and contemplate what we were doing, and I think it strengthened our convictions. And that's why we are today very, very much excited. And that's why we wanted to use the crowdfunding platform to get the message out there. And I am quite confident that people will understand and view it this way. And perhaps we'll be having a similar conversation a couple of years down the line for the next one.
Hopefully. So I should say that anyone that is interested in investing in this project through crowdfunding can do so entirely online on our platform, crowdbase.eu. Now, for anyone that is interested to buy an apartment in the Courtyard, what should they do?
Well, we have contact details on our website as well. It's www.thecourtyard.com.cy.
Okay, we'll include also any additional details in the description.
It has all the designs. It has a few video, virtual tours, of course, our telephone contact, and lots. Designs, plans of the of each floor.
Excellent, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.